Hi, Ian here from Mako Create, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create your own pixel art. We're going to look at what pixel art is, some free tools that you can get access to make your own, and then once we start building we're going to look at different settings, different features on how to make your pixel art looking the absolute best it can be. So without any further ado, let's take a look at what pixel art is. Well, the website that we're going to use to make your own pixel art is called Pixelartcom, but it's spelled Pixilart.com. So if you head to their website, it's a completely free website. You can create an account with them. It's still completely free to create an account, and all that means is you can access other people's drawings. You can look at galleries, you can leave comments, you can like stuff, and you can get inspiration for future projects. And there's loads of fantastic stuff getting uploaded every single second onto this website. So if you want to create an account, that can be something that you can look at, but you don't need to. You can just start drawing straight away. For any parents or teachers that are watching, there is lots of guidance on this website. It is aimed at children. It's obviously older children can use it, adults can use it as well. But for anybody who's got any concerns, you can take a look at the guidance there and get a little bit of reassurance. But we're ready to start drawing. So you click on the Start Drawing button, and assuming this is your very first time that you've started a pixel art project, then we're going to create a new drawing. If you've used it before, it's going to give you an option here. It's going to say, do you want to continue with the last project that you're working on, or do you want to start anew? So I'm going to click on New. But before we can start, before we can really look at what pixel art is, we need to tell it how big we want our canvas to be. So when we're talking about how big it is and sizes with pixel art, we're always talking about the number of pixels. So there's some presets right down here at the bottom. And this is a nice, easy place to start. 16 by 16, and that means there's going to be 16 pixels going across the top, 16 pixels going down. If you're feeling brave, you can get pixel art to generate you a random canvas. If you want to take the next step up from the one that we're going to be starting at, you can go to 32 by 32. Then if you're feeling really brave, anything north of 100 by 100, you can have a go at that. The only thing I would say is that with all of these settings, it's a little bit of a balancing act. We're going to have a go at 16 by 16, which you might think sounds easy, and it is, but what you lose out with the smaller that you go, we can't add as much detail. It's a lot harder to squish all of those details into a really small canvas. So for example, if I wanted to start writing some text, that text is going to be really squished and blocky. So it's going to be hard to do. So if you went up to 100 by 100, then you can definitely start to fit words and things like that in there, but you're going to need a lot more detail. There's a lot more pixels to work with. So it's kind of like the difference between low definition and high definition, or a low resolution and a high resolution. So we're going to start at 16 by 16, and then once you've done that and you're feeling braver, then feel free to crank those settings up. So all you need to do is click on that 16 by 16. We're going to clear things, but that's absolutely fine. And then there you go. We've got our 16 pixels across by 16 pixels down. It's on this kind of checkered background at the moment, and all of that means is there's nothing there. It looks like there is, but there's nothing. A checkered background is like universal graphic design speak for saying this is transparent. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to colour in this canvas with lots of different blocks, different colours. You can just obviously dive in and you can start drawing whatever you want, but sometimes it's a really good idea to go away, do a little bit of research, get those creative juices flowing, get some inspiration from somewhere else. And that inspiration could come from pixel art, it could come from a computer game, it could come from your favourite TV or film, anything like that, or just something that you see in the real world, and then maybe have a go at sketching it first. And you could sketch it in real life, you could sketch it on gritty paper, whatever it is. So just to give you an idea, what I've done is I've drawn something out, I've printed it out of what I'm going to try and replicate something similar to that. So that's obviously a Pokeball. And that's what we're going to try and translate onto our canvas on Pixelartcom. So let's get started then, shall we? On the left-hand side, these are all of your tools. And we're going to go through the kind of most obvious ones of those in this video today. On the right-hand side is your settings, your colour palettes and all the different bits and bobs that we're going to use to help make our drawing look absolutely spot on. So, first bit of advice I would give to you is try and draw an outline of whatever it is that you're going to create. So we can go over to our pen tool, and then it's just a simple case of starting to click in wherever you want your pixels to go. So I'm just going to have a quick blast at trying to create a circle, and straight away what you'll start to see is how easy pixel art is, but also how difficult it is, if that makes any sense, because we are limited to these blocks. So creating something that's round is actually quite hard. So I've had a little go, but it's a little bit wonky and I'm not quite happy with that. So no problem, we can start to fix things. We can go up to the eraser tool and we can just start to click and get rid of any pixels that are in there that we don't want anymore. Another thing that we could do, and this is the way that I would actually recommend it to you, is using this button up here, which is your undo button. So if you just start giving that a click, that's almost like your extra life. And it'll just go back step by step by step to how it was before you made the mistake, or back to the point that you want to be at in order to continue carrying on. So always look for your undo button. You've also got a redo button, which will redo your undo. They are your best friends in the whole wide world. They're going to make your life a lot easier. So there's your pen tool, there's your eraser tool. What I'm going to jump down to now though is these two tools. You've got a square tool and a circle tool. I'm trying to create a Pokeball. It's a circle. So rather than me manually drawing in these pixels, I'm going to click on the circle tool. I'm going to start up here in the top left hand corner, click with my mouse and drag it down like this. Okay, so get to something like that. And that's a much better effort of making a circle. Obviously it's not a perfect circle because we're still working with squares, but it's a much better effort than what I did manually trying to get it in, where it was a little bit lopsided. So that's great, but for me, it's not in the center. I want it to be in the middle of my canvas. So what I can do is I could go to my eraser and I could start to rub bits out and draw extra bits in. That's fine. But what I've also got over here is a move tool. So if I give that a click, what that's going to let me do is drag my circle around to get it to be wherever I want it to be. So I still can't, that's a fantastic tool, but I still can't get it in the middle. Somewhere it's just going to be slightly more to the left or the right. Okay, not a problem. What we can do is we can use our select tool, which is right next to the move tool over here. And this is like, it's similar to selecting text. If you've ever highlighted text with a mouse in an email or even in a text message or anything like that, we're just going to select the part that we want to change. So sometimes this is called lassoing. We're going to click and drag and we'll get this grey box. And we're just going to select the part of the image that we want to either move or copy or change. So what I've got now is I've got this circle selected, and what I've got is these handy little handles in the four corners and at the top, the bottom, the left and the right. And what I can do with these is I can click and drag. So I can scale whatever it is that I've got selected. So I got a perfect circle, but it wasn't quite the right size and it wasn't in the right position. So what I did was I went to my move tool, moved it around, and went to my select tool, selected it and just scaled it up a little bit. And now that is absolutely perfect for me. I've left a little bit of space. I'm just going to click anywhere outside of that selection, get rid of that select tool. And I've got this nice looking circle that goes right the way around the outside with a nice little border or a nice little gap all the way around the outside. So that's the outline of my Pokeball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pen tool, and obviously Pokeballs have got two different colours. Mine's going to have red on the top and white on the bottom. So what I could do is I could grab my pen and I could just draw a straight line across there like that. Challenge you're going to have, and like I said with this low resolution at 16 by 16, is you want to add as much detail to make it look real, but you haven't really got the space to do it in. One thing I want to definitely try and do is make it look like it's a ball and not just a flat circle on a screen. So if I draw my line straight across like that, it just looks really, really flat. So I'm going to undo that. And there's even a cheat to help me with that, which is the line tool. over here. So I can use this line tool to click and drag across like that, and this is going to keep this in a perfectly straight line, or as best it can in pixels. So if I wanted a diagonal line, or just something slightly off center like that, anything like that, I can click and drag using that line tool, and it's going to draw a line from wherever I started clicking to wherever I leave go, as best it can in a straight line. But you know, it's just straight across. I don't really like it, so we're going to have to use the good old-fashioned pen tool. And I'm just going to try and get it so that it looks like it's sweeping down a little bit like this. And then I'm going to create this button. It's in the middle. And then we'll go across like that. So already it's starting to look better. It's not just a straight line that goes across. Now, sometimes with this, especially when you've got a low resolution by 16 by 16, when you see it on a big screen like this, it's kind of hard to get a perspective. It's kind of hard to see it because it's so up close to you. So what I'm going to always suggest, that if it's looking a little bit not the way that you want it to look, just always keep an eye on this part of your screen in the top right hand corner underneath where it says navigation in the preview tab. I actually think that I'm going to move this button. I'm just going to use my select tool. I'm just going to drag it across like that. I kind of feel like it was a bit too squished in over there. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And remember to just to check up there. That looks cool. I'm happy with that. Right. So now that I've got my outline there and I've kind of split the ball with this curved line through the middle, I've got my window there on my button. I want to fill it, I want to add some colours. So what I'm going to do is I could use my pen tool and then I could go down to this colour palette over here and I could find a red like that, and then I could start to colour these pixels in one by one like that if I wanted to. And for some times that you're doing really intricate and delicate bits, you're going to want to use the pen tool. But what I'm going to show you is how to use the bucket tool, which is otherwise known as your fill. So over here on the left hand side, you click your bucket tool, and then so long as you've got a solid shape with no breaks in it, it could be a square, it could be a circle, whatever it is, as long as you've got a solid area to fill in, when you click here, it's going to fill that in with one solid colour like that. So I kind of like that. That's a good starting point. I'm going to go and grab some white for the bottom, and I'm going to click down there. Again, still got my paint bucket tool, click that, and then hey presto, I've got red at the top and white at the bottom. So for this button, I'm just going to choose, if I choose it white, then it kind of looks a bit too the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and find a slightly off-white colour down here, and I'm going to fill that in there like that. Just little tiny differences like that can make all the difference. So, could be forgiven for thinking, you know what, that's it, it's done. I can't really do any more. I've drawn my outline, I've filled it with some colour, away we go. But like I said, you've not got a lot of space to work with, so it's really important you make the most of what you've got. So we want to try and add some shading in. Remember, I'm trying to make this look like a ball and not just a flat circle on the screen. So how can we do that? Over here on the left hand side, it's meant to be like an eclipse. So you've got the moon and the sun. And that's called your darken and lighten tool. So if you give that a click, what's going to happen is this is going to, whatever you click, kind of like the pen tool, wherever you click now, it's going to take the colour that's already there and just make it a little bit darker. So what I'm going to try and do is create a bit of shade on my Pokeball now. So right at the bottom, where if the light was coming from the top, we're going to have a shadow on the bottom. That's the bit that's going to be the darkest. So I'm just going to start to click in a line that goes down there like that. And remember, it might not look so great up here, but remember to always take a look at your preview up there in the top right hand corner. Now the great thing about this lighten and darken tool is you can click on the same pixel multiple times. And when you click it more than once, it's going to get darker and darker. So I want this to be quite dark. So I'm going to click a few times down there like that. And I'm even going to go again in for one So these pixels here have got 1, 2, 3 clicks on them. And then you can start to see this one's got 3, this one's got 2, this one's got 1. So we get this gradual fade going in there. And then I'm just going to start to pepper around these pixels so that we get this gradual effect going like that. So then when we take a look up here, you can see we've got that really nice shadow effect going on the underside of the Pokeball. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. So that's how you can darken the pixels that are already there. This is your darken and lighten tool. If I start to click up here, so on the other side of the Pokeball now, I'm going to try and make it look like there's light shining on the top of it. But if I start to click up here now, we've still got it darkening those pixels, so it's making it look darker. That's not what we want. So I'm going to undo that. So what we need to do is tell this tool that we now want to start lightening things. So it's kind of hidden away, this setting, but what we need to do is we need to go over to Tool, and you can see there's a little blue flashing light to let us know that there's some settings in here that we can use. So I click on Tool, and then up here you can see it says lighter color. Toggle to switch to the lighter color. So if I put a little tick in that box, now using my lighten and darken tool, when I start to click up here, you can see that now I'm using the lighten tool. So I'm just going to click again. I'm going to click 3 times on these areas up here. So we've got this much lighter color red. And then I'm just going to start to pepper around these light ones a few times, like so. So I've got a mixture of pixels that have been clicked on 3 times, some that have been clicked on 2 times, and some that have been clicked on once. Let's take a look at this preview up here, and there you go. We can see we've got these dark pixels towards the bottom and the lighter pixels towards the top. So that kind of looks cool. I'm happy with that. And what I'm going to do is add some extreme highlights in there at the moment. So I'm going to click on my pencil tool. I'm going to make sure that I've got a white color selected. So let's go ahead and grab a white, and then I'm just going to give it this real pop of white up there like that. That's like really harsh light that's shining on the top. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's cool. So let's go in and grab our lighten and darken tool again, and I'm just going to add some finishing touches inside this button to make it look like it's got a bit of depth to it. So give this one 3 clicks, these have had 2 clicks, and these have had 1 click like that. So we just get that gradual fade going in there. And remember to keep a look up here. I actually think that that's probably a smidge too much, so let's undo a few steps and maybe have it something more like that. Yeah, that's not quite as much. I think that's kind of cool. All right, so great. Let's recap. We've outlined. We've drawn a curved line through the middle to try and give it this spherical. We're trying to make a ball, so we give it this shape. We've used the paint bucket tool to fill in the top and the bottom, and also this button in the middle. And then we've used our darken and lighten tool to try and add some shading in there to represent light. What else can we do? Well, at the moment, we've just been working on one single layer. So everything that we've been doing is on this one, kind of like if you were working on one sheet of paper, and we can introduce different layers. So what I want to do is I want to colour in my background. So all the bit that we haven't touched yet, all the bit around the outside. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a blue colour, and if I click on my paint bucket tool and click up there, there you go. I've filled in the background. The problem with this is that we're still working on that one layer. So if I decide to try and select my Pokeball, let's say I just want to add something else in there. Let's say I wanted to draw a Pokemon next to it or something like that. When I start to scale this now, you can see that I haven't actually filled the background in at all. I've just filled in the pixels around the outside. So this is where things can get a little bit messy. And what I would always suggest to you is that you work on different layers where possible. So how do we do that? Over on the right hand side, you will see you've got a layers option, and you can see there's one by default. It's just called background, and that's the one that we've been drawing on. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this add button to add another layer in. And you can rename these. So if I wanted to rename this one, double click on it, and I'm going to change this to blue background. And then I'm going to double click on this one because it's not actually a background. I'm going to call that Pokeball. Press OK. So now we've got two layers to work with over here. So I'm going to click on the blue background, and I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to make it blue. So let's go back to our paint bucket tool and let's click anywhere on the canvas to fill it in. Uh-oh, what's happened? It's filled the whole thing in blue. Don't panic. We just have a look over here in the layers. You can see the Pokeball's still there, but it's just underneath that new layer that we've created. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on that one, and then we've got these ordering tools down here. It's a up arrow or a down arrow. So I'm just going to say move this layer up, which will put it on top. So if I zoom out and we click on that one, you can see, hey, there we go. Our Pokeball is now sat on top of the blue background layer. So now what happens if we click on our select tool, select the Pokeball. Now if we start to move it around, you can see that the blue background is exactly that. It's in the background and the Pokeball is on top. So that gives us a lot more wiggle room in the future if you want to start to move things around, scale it, add other bits in, try and use different layers, trust me, okay? And while we've got that nice blue background in, that lets me show you some extra settings, including this lovely gradient tool. So I just want to work on the background now. I'm happy with my Pokeball, I want to leave it there, but it's kind of in the way because it's right on top. So what we can do is we can click on these little dots here, and that doesn't delete anything, it just hides it. So I can turn it on and I can turn it off. So I'm just going to make it invisible. Still there, but it's out the way. So now what I can do is if I come down to this gradient tool, what the gradient tool is going to gradually fade from one colour to another. And it's going to use these two colours that are here. So at the moment I've got my nice blue, and then in the background is this kind of white colour. So I'm going to click over there, and this is pretty much the same tool that you see over here, but it just gives you a lot more range to choose exactly the colour that you want. So I'm going to go and try and pick another lighter blue, like that. Press select colour. So there you can see, dark blue on top, light blue on the bottom, and I've got my gradient tool selected here. And all I'm going to do is click at the bottom, and I'm going to drag up with my mouse. Oops. This is something that you might do. I've just done it accidentally. I'm still working on the layer, even though it's hidden, I'm still working on my Pokeball layer. So when you've got multiple layers, it's really, really important that you know which layer you're working on. I'll pretend like that was a deliberate mistake. So we're going to make sure that we've got this blue background layer selected, and now I'm going to click and drag up like that, and you can see that we've got, it starts off dark blue at the bottom and then gradually gets lighter towards the top. So that gradient tool is one of my favourite tools ever. So let's turn that Pokeball layer back on, and it just adds that extra layer, that extra dimension. I just think it makes it look really, really cool. So there are a few other settings in there, the stamp tool, the dither tool. I'm not going to go over them in this video because I think that's definitely enough to get you up and running. Feel free, you can go back, you can pause this video and copy exactly what I've done, or you can create something completely of your own. That's absolutely fine. But let's just say that you are finished right now. At the moment, it's just trapped in this canvas, and you want to get a file that you want to share, whether you want to upload it to Instagram or whether you want to send it in an email to your friends or your family. So how do we do that? You could be forgiven for thinking that we're going to go up and press Save Drawing. Remember me saying you can create an account? That's where, if you've got an account with Pixelart, that's where you can save your drawing to an online gallery or to your profile. So feel free to explore that later on. But all that I want you to do right now is you can go into File and Download, or you can even just press the download button that's right there at the top of your screen. It's the same thing. So if you press that, it now says, okay, we're going to now download a file, a PNG file. If you've created an animation, which we haven't covered in this video, you would save it as a GIF. But ours is just a static still image, so we're going to save it as a PNG. The only thing I need you to pay attention to at this stage is just make sure it's as big as you need it to be. So remember, we're only 16 pixels by 16 pixels at the moment, which is actually really, really small. So if I save this, we're going to end up with a really, really tiny image. And that might be what you want, but if you're going to want to send it online, in an email, on Instagram or anything like that, it's going to need to be a bit bigger so people can see it. So we're going to use this slider, and what I would recommend, if it's going on Instagram, for example, that it needs to be over 1080 pixels. So it needs to be at least there. And you can see what it's timesing it by over here if you're any good at your times tables. You can obviously make it as big as you like. It's always better to be bigger, and then you can make it smaller, but just don't start off with something that's way too small because it's going to be pixelated when you try and make it bigger. So I'm going to leave mine at 1000, just over 1080, so I know that it's going to be perfect for Instagram. And then I'm going to press the download PNG button. That will then save a PNG file wherever your browser saves its downloads. Remember, we've not downloaded, this isn't an application that you've installed on your machine. This is all in your web browser. So if you're using Chrome, Safari, Microsoft Edge, whatever it is, wherever you normally save your files, that's where that PNG has gone, into your downloads folder, onto your desktop, wherever it might be. So all you need to do now is go and find that file, and then that's yours. It's done. You can upload it, send it. You can send it in a text message, whatever it is that you want to do. So that is pixel art and the pixel art website in a nutshell. Like I said, there's loads more settings, loads more features, and you can do a much higher resolution image if you want to. Remember, we talked about those 100 by 100 canvases. Feel free to take a look at them when you get a bit more confident and you want to try something that's a little bit more advanced. But just as a starting off project, 16 by 16, there's your Pokeball. Have fun, enjoy, and we can't wait to see what you make. Until next time, I've been Ian from Mako Create, and we'll see you again.